Hello everybody, and thank you for coming back to the channel. As I mentioned in the previous video, I've basically completed the one half of the fuselage. I've also got the tail surfaces ready and I've hinged them, so I'll show you that later. And in this video I'm going to go through the battle of installing the electronic stuff inside that will let it be an RC conversion. For that we have one ESC. This is actually the broken one from previous videos if you remember, but then I can muddle about with it and I'm not afraid of breaking it, and if I do, it's broken already, so it doesn't matter. So that's the ESC, that's kind of the core, how with antennae, how it will receive, and then it has the two servos here for the tail surfaces and the connection to the battery, and then the engine will also have to be connected. So that's one. It's small, but let's say it's big for the size of this airplane. This has to go in. Then we have the battery that also has to go in, of course, and this will connect to this. We have the engine. Here's the engine, small engine, brushed, so relatively not a lot of power, but enough, I believe. And also a gearbox. So the engine goes in there, and then it's a reductor of the turns. So that's let's say for the engine. And then also we have then the servo, the small servo that goes actually to the wing. That's to control the aileron. So if I show here the wing, I think I'm going to have to install this somewhere in here. I'm still not sure. Actually, it might fit. It could be good. I'm still not sure how I'll do that, but I'll get to that at some point. But now the biggest challenge now is that unlike the Spitfire, that had a very long nose, let's say, because it had the inline engine in its like the original design. Here the Avenger has a radial engine, which means it's much stubbier, heavy at the front but stubby. So I have to concentrate ESC, engine with gearbox and battery and the servo somewhere all around this area. Let's see if you can see it. So a lot of things all in the same place, and that's going to be then the challenge. The servo I put on the wing, it's also a mid-mounted wing, so the wing is going to go somewhere here, which does not leave very much space for the rest of the things, right? So the engine will go somehow here, and I'm not sure if to put it maybe even like upside down, the engine above. And I've got to put then the ESC, that's probably the most complicated part, to fit it in. I'm thinking for the battery, and I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, is to maybe put it in through the engine cowling. So basically to connect the battery, to take off the engine cowling, put the battery in, and then close it like that. Then I don't have to create another hatch, and then it might slide in here nicely. That's my theory at the moment. Maybe a bit under the wing, and maybe actually crashing a little bit into the servo, so I'll see. It's very, very tight in here. What I started to work on is on the placement of the ESC. I wanted to put it very much up front, but it's not going to fit with battery, with cables, with engine and everything there, and this part of the fuselage is much too narrow, so it's not going to work. So I'm going to fit it in basically right behind the B2 fuselage former. I don't know if you can see, that's a B2, basically sticking it to that, to the B2, and then I have to cut the shape into the B3. B3 is the one that's already prepared to cut out a piece to put in the wing, so it's going to be even more choppy. We're going to chop it up even more. I have drawn and started to cut, and I hope you can see this, the shape that I hope is going to be enough to mount in the ESC, right? So this should go in somehow like this, and I hope it's enough to fit. It's very tight, like if I measured it, I think it's 27 millimeters or 28 millimeters wide. We have something like 32 millimeters wide at that point, the whole fuselage, so there's not much space there. So I'm convinced I'm going to break something, so I'll probably have to fix it, but that's at the moment the battle, right? So I'll have to do the same thing. I couldn't measure it before, maybe I should have, but I didn't manage to measure it, so I'll have to do kind of replicate that same cut on the other side, let's say on the left side, so that the ESC can somehow sit in there. And then I have to figure out how I'm going to support it, because as you can see, then the ESC will be somehow in the wing, like a little bit like the servos will actually be somehow disturbed by the wing. I have the feeling that this part from the wing will have to be cut for one reason or another, and on top of it I have to put in the other servo. So very tight fit, really very tight fit. I didn't think of it actually when I bought the model for the conversion, but that's a challenge. So let's see how it goes. I'll try to fix in the ESC, which is the complicated part, at least build it around it, and then see how I fix then the engine mount, the gearbox, space for the battery. Also I have to probably cut also the first frame, the first form of the fuselage. So a lot of, let's say, engineering here, like not following the plans anymore, to make it an RC plane. So let's see how that goes. So follow me along on this complicated part of the build, but the fun part, isn't it? A bit of an update on what I'm up to now. As I was mentioning, the plan is to introduce the ESC in here. I also noticed that I need to leave some space for the servo arms to be able to move, so it's going to have to go further back than I initially thought, which I think is a bit of a risk for the center of gravity. I have to bear in mind that also on the whole rear fuselage I'm going to have the push rods for the elevators and the rudder, so that also adds weight behind the center of gravity, right? So let's see how that goes. But I've managed to somehow do a cutting into the fuselage formers. Here's the other one also, and this basically needs to close in like this. Then when I put in the ESC finally, this will go in like this, right? I've put in reinforcements because as you can see, it's cut quite small or quite thin. It's quite narrow, the bit that's cut. So I've put in some reinforcements to try to strengthen it. It's easier to do it on the one that's not stuck yet, but I've also managed to do it on the one that is actually already in place. I've put it in there, and I've also added two pieces of balsa connecting the fuselage formers furthering, on which I hope the ESC will actually kind of sit on. I still have to glue it because of course the servos will still need to have leverage, but it will sit on that. So let's see how I stick this in, and then I'm going to have to do the same thing on the other side. I also have to bear in mind that I need to have access to be able to put in the servo connector. So that's a headache that's ahead of me that I'm still not sure how I'm going to do. So a bit challenging from that side. I've done also from the nose, this is the nose piece. I've also cut out actually a hole. If you see, it has this kind of bell shape. The original, it was more like a normal oblong shape, and through this bell shape, let's see if I can hold it without sticking it and show you. The plan is to be able to introduce the battery, right? So we'll have to go in there and then somehow, I lost it, sit in here. And I have to play with that. I don't know how much play it will give me for the center of gravity. So I think this is okay, but we'll have to see how it goes. I've done the same as with the other former. I've put in some reinforcements because I've cut out into the structure there. I'm a bit concerned also that I'm weakening the structure maybe more than I would like to, so I'm not sure how resistant it's going to be to crashes. So from that perspective, the Spitfire was better. So this will then come in like this, and then one of the other steps I'm going to have to do once I have this in place is to also put in the engine support, which I'm not sure how I'm going to do, but I'll figure that out, of course, right? So the engine, I have to put it on here, and then also the cowling on it. So a bit of progress, actually quite a lot of work for very little apparent progress, because it's a lot of small cuts and adapting, but let's see how it comes along. So as I say, a bit complicated, but I suppose that's the fun of it, right? So a brief update on what I've been up to. I've reinforced the first frame with some 3mm square strips of balsa. I've put in a lot of reinforcement because I have the feeling as I'm cutting into it, I'm taking away a lot of the structure, and it is going to crash on its nose, right? It's not a question about will it crash on its nose, but then how hard will it be? So I'm a bit worried about that. That's why I'm putting in what might be even too much reinforcement. I've decided to put the gearbox. This is the gearbox where the engine will sitting upside down. It doesn't really matter because the turning will still be the same, so it should squeezing in here, and in there also the engine will come in from the back. So this is the engine actually. I still have to put it in, and that should fit in there. And I've also tried the cowling. This is very much like trial and error to see the distances and the size. Let's see if I can put it in so I can show you. So then the engine cowling from the model should come in somehow like this. No, it's not there it is. So it should come in like this, right? I still need to cut out a little bit there because I need to put the connection for the propeller in place and things like that, but it should somehow sitting like this. I'll see how I fix it then also later. Now the biggest concern is going to be to connect the ESC, not this one but the real one, because this is the broken one, to the motor, and for that I need to do some soldering. That's why I have this soldering iron and some of this, not sure what it's called, some soldering metal. This is a USB one, it's a small one. I did get a bigger one, but it's too messy. The USB one actually is cheap and it's good. I have to plug it into a computer, but it works well. And I'm never looking forward to this part because I'm not good at it, right? So I need to find what are the right poles, what is the right connection. It's on this side, and then connecting the engine, and then after that I'll actually do a run up. I'll test if the ESC is working and to make sure that the servers are also working, right? So that's what I'm going to be doing now, and then after that, once that is soldered, then I'll probably start to fixing already the engine, so the gearbox with the engine, and I'll already stick in the ESC in place, and then maybe putting one frame. I'm not sure if to put in maybe some of the longer one already, because then I have to connect in the transmission rods. So let's see how that goes. I'll do that and I'll come back to you. So a bit of the progress. Engine in. I've managed to solder the engine to the ESC. Always a difficult part for me, and I don't do it too well, so I hope the cables actually hold out. I've also stuck in already some of more of the formers. So for the fuselage, 3 more. This one was particularly difficult because it's almost breaking. The glue is still not completely set, and the ESC is now also stuck in there, and I've put in also more supporting longerons and more supporting strips of balsa there. I need the ESC to be held quite tightly in there so it has enough leverage to then move the tail surfaces, so that's important. Yeah, from the engine perspective, I think it's okay. It's kind of in the center, but I have the feeling it's pointing downwards, so that's not going to be too good. I have to see how I manage to do it, maybe compensate it with an upper trim on the stabilizer. So let's see how it goes. Here's then the cable of the battery sticking out, which is also a bit tight. I wasn't thinking it was going to be so tight, so I've got to see how I develop a strategy to put in the battery without breaking the whole airplane apart, right? So at least some progress there. I have to let it set for the night, and next challenge on this one will be to put in the rods that will connect to the servo arms here on the ESC. Here, I think you can see it, I hope. Going backwards to the elevator and to the rudder, so that's next challenge. So let's see if I can wrap up the video now, because I think this is already going on for quite a while. What I've managed to do, I've cut out a hole in the cowling, and I've put in the propeller holder so that it sits on, and I've actually tried it. I've powered it up. I don't have it now here, but I've powered it up to make sure that the propeller is spinning in the right way. It'll still need a bit of adjustment, but it's working kind of as it should, which is good. Now I can't get the cowling on, right? So there, the propeller would go on there. It is very tight inside. Now it's touching, but I have to adjust. The battery does fit in there, but it is very tight. I did spend quite a lot of time actually putting in the the push rods. I had to make some holes, and then I have to make sure also that it moves well, that there's not too much friction, and hopefully they'll be long enough. I think they will be just about long enough to reach the tail surfaces, and that I was testing by basically putting here the rudder and the elevator, everything. So that's but that did take me quite a long time, actually, like an hour somehow to figure that out. And then the last battle that I'm on, and that I'll close with. Well, by the way, I put in the spar, the side spar. I haven't glued it in, but somehow to give it some consistency, because moving it around without that, it does feel quite flimsy. But I'll then take it off probably and glue it on. Then what else did I do? So I made a hole in this spar for the elevator servo, no sorry, for the aileron servo, which will go in here basically. I have to put in the cable through it, and then I built two little pieces of wood so that it'll sit there okay. Also, let's see if I don't break it. I haven't glued it yet, so it's just like somehow it'll sit there, and then the two pieces of glue of wood will be glued in there to give it also the resistance, as I did cut one of the spars, that it does have some sturdiness. And then I'll have to, and I'll do that probably when it's installed, I'll have to connect the ailerons. It is quite far out actually, so I'm a bit worried that the angle might not be too good, so let's see how that goes. Let's see, it is another worry that we have to see if it works when we get there. Then the next battle that I'm on, and I still haven't figured out, but I have an idea, is I have to put the wing in, because it goes through there. I've already cut out some pieces here on the fuselage formers, and I have to manage to squeeze the wing in through there, and I've tried once and it doesn't fit. It's so tight. I probably have to take the servo arms from the ESC off, because it's so tight it's not going through. So I have to unscrew them, pull them off very gently, not to break anything, then see if this will fit on, and then probably install the servo and everything else once it's in there. So this is kind of the difficult part of installing the electronics, of doing the adaptation, as there aren't any plans, and it is very, very tight. Like, I have to say that it's tighter than I thought. It's down to the millimeter. So but that's a fun, right? So let's see how it goes. I'll finish the video here, because this will still take me a bit of a battle, and then we'll see what the next one will be. It'll be more maybe assembly, and I'll finish maybe the fuselage formers and things like that, and slowly it is progressing. So in any case, thank you as usual for being here and for watching, and I'll see you next time.